everybody. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm really, really glad to be talking at this webinar and showing you what we have been doing at FACEIT. So before getting started, I'll just briefly give you an introduction of what is FACEIT, because maybe not all of you have heard about us. FACEIT is a competitive gaming platform. What we do is that we are trying to create gaming experiences by helping communities and the ecosystem to grow on different online multiplayer video games. What differentiates us from other tournament platforms is that we have developed a lot of features on top, which make FACEIT closer to what a social network could be. So you have the ability of posting content, sharing highlights from your matches, finding a team, and basically meeting friends. This got us to 18 million users over the years and about 60 million monthly sessions nowadays, with a peak of concurrent users of 270,000. So with that, of course, we got into some of the issues that I think many startups face sooner or later in their basically in their life, and it's about how do we scale, and the data team was a part of that. So the way we are using data at FACEIT is for everything. So we really believe that everybody and every employee should get access to data, because we think that it's the basis of empowering everybody to make the best decisions. So we want people to use data to back up their arguments and proposals. They need to use them to gain insights on what could be future trends. If there's seasonality, they need to use them to evaluate their features. But we are also using a lot of data, and as well in partnership with Google and others, to basically build data-driven products like our toxicity engine, Minerva, that's leveraging, among other tools, Perspective API and BigQuery. So our journey with Looker started about 2 years ago, when we were in a bit of a pickle, in the sense that we had an infrastructure that wasn't really working. So we were at the point that, yes, we had data going into BigQuery, and then we had a third-party visualization platform that was connected on top of BigQuery. But this platform was pulling the data out of BigQuery, and it was running it on its own instance. Sometimes that part of the import would fail, and it would have dashboards that would just break and insights that were just missing. Also, we were in a situation where we were sending some data to that platform, and some other data instead was available on Mixpanel, Keen.io, Google Analytics. So the time you were entering into a meeting and somebody was pulling out the conversion rate, that conversion rate was never the same, depending on which platform they picked the metric from. So we were yeah, we cannot continue like this, and we really need to find a solution. So we had basically a lot of functional challenges that we were becoming a bottleneck. There was a huge backlog of reports for my team that we weren't just quick enough to get through them. There were lots of data silos. So we had, for example, the database imports that were getting on this visualization platform that then we dropped. And we had the events data that instead was filling into Google Analytics and other platforms there. And this was creating, on one side, there were multiple sources of truth, which in the end means there wasn't a source of truth. And it was really hard for non-technical audiences, people that were outside of the data team, to just get easy metrics and just get easier, use these metrics to answer their questions. And this, of course, created business challenges. Decision making was lower, and this was starting to impact business objectives. We weren't able to roll out features quickly enough as we wanted to. And we were also not optimizing our spend. So we were spending quite a lot of money across all these different platforms, which was counterproductive. So we started a selection process. We wanted to move away from this fragmented infrastructure, and we started checking what was available in the market. So the first phase, we did a lot of research, compared different platforms that were available in the market, and we were trying to basically understand which ones would fit us well. And we then went ahead and started having demos, and finally basically selected 2 vendors that we thought were the best in the market. One of them was Looker, and we built a proof of concept with each of them. And finally, we had a trial period where all stakeholders had access to both platforms. We gathered feedback from all of them, and in the end, Looker was the winner. Why we chose Looker? Well, firstly, it is, like as Rob was saying as well, it directly integrates with BigQuery. It just means that it reads the data directly from the source. It's not pulling them up somewhere else. So it's all nicely and beautifully integrated, and it just works. It allows us to specify a data model. We can define measures and dimensions. And finally, all these measures and dimensions are the same for everybody because they are defined in the model. And it empowers our business users. It has a beautiful explore functionality. So once your data team has set up the initial model, then it's really up to every user in the business to just really start using it and answering the questions they have. So this actually allowed us to go to a lot of a smoother infrastructure. We finally got rid of all the different platforms, so started to beautifully get all our data, events data, and database data. So BigQuery roughly is managing about 1 billion of monthly events for us every month, and that's all plugged into Looker beautifully. So one source of truth that everybody can see. And we started rolling it out. I think it's when adopting a tool like Looker, it's very important that you also focus on how you roll it out to the team. So firstly, you want to make sure that you get the model layer right so that you can easily expand on it, because that's really your core and the main thing that your analyst and data scientists will need to focus on. Once you've done that, we basically picked the first team of guinea pigs to rolling it out. We wanted to see what were the issues and how to do that. And finally, we selected we made sure that within each team in the company, there was a Looker champion. And that Looker champion is somebody that has been dealing with Looker, has been learning it with us, and they actually have been advocating it within their team. And that really allowed us, well, firstly, not to need to embed a data analyst into every team. So it allowed us to basically scale and make sure that everybody's using data and is learning how to use data in a quicker and a smoother way. And now I think we are basically, in the last phase. And I mean, we have been in that one phase for quite some time, actually. And it's just making sure that everybody keeps up to speed. So if there are new starters, they get on board in the Looker and know how to use the platform. But also that as new features are released on Looker, that we always have lunch and learn sessions where people can just come in and learn with us if there are new things they want to try. And yeah, the presence. So nowadays, adoptions, 55% of our employees is on Looker right now. We are targeting to have everybody on Looker by the end of Q2 2021. They are basically spending, on average, 2 hours per day on Looker, which is a lot, and they are running 210 queries. So they are really checking the data, and this is from people in customer support that need to understand how to answer to a ticket and want to find out a specific metric or a specific data. For example, how many people have been banned for cheating in the last month, and they want to give the statistic to the user to just justify their answer. To product managers that are checking their A/B testing. So lots of people are spending time on Looker, which is great. And we have some new cool projects going on that we just started. So this LookML auto generation is a project that Ernesto is one of the guys that's going to talk later in one of the 2 sessions at the end of the day. And he basically developed the gaming block, but he actually helped us with this as well. So good on him. This basically, so one of the things that we wanted to do is the moment a new table appears in BigQuery, we basically coded our own Python to just create automatically the view on Looker. So basically what our code is doing is, a new table has appeared on BigQuery, then it's going to generate automatically the view. It's going to automatically add it to the Looker model. And this makes sure that as soon as a product manager, the developer of a product manager has added a new event on the platform, in basically 10 minutes since release, the product manager is going to be able to see and check the data in Looker. The view is generated with some measures in them, and so it really gives like the basics of what everybody needs. Then we have started developing other tools for like other metrics. And for example, we are leveraging a lot of Looker blocks. For example, the retention one, the events one, to just make sure that we extend the flexibility and make sure that people can see and for example, can make a funnel and choose which events they want from all the events that are available on Looker itself. And finally, we have actually integrated Looker is also our labeling tool for machine learning. So we have a lot of different use cases of machine learning on FACEIT and toxicity. So in text comments and voice comments is one of them. One of the things that you always struggle when you're trying to do machine learning is having good label data. So we were like, how can we better use all our employees to label data for us? And we decided to leverage one of the tools that we're using daily. So through custom actions, you basically have the possibility of labeling a field in general, of adding any type of string text to a variable. Sorry. And save that back to BigQuery. Once that is back on BigQuery, we can easily look it up into Cloud AI or any other tool that we are using to host our models, and basically like retrain our models with the new data that has been labeled. So it like really just beautifully closes the loop there as well. And yes, that's it from my side. And if you have any questions, just let me know.
Thank you so much, Maria Laura. Like before, for our audience members out there, please jump into the Q&A box and post any questions that you have. I do see a couple that have already come through, so let me jump on those right now. The first one here, let's see. What is the composition and size of your BI team to ensure a good transition to the new stack using Looker as your reporting tool?
Sure. So basically, like the company overall, it's about 130 employees, and the data team altogether is about 10 people, of which we have 2 data engineers, 2 analysts, and the others are data scientists. The people that were involved in the Looker migration was basically myself, plus the 2 data engineers and the 2 data analysts. So realistically, it was a team of 5 people. And I think, honestly, the full migration took us a couple of months to set things up. So I think, of course, like it's a matter of you dedicate more resources if you want to speed it up, or you can like dedicate less resources and just take it a little bit more time. I think what's really important is just make sure the foundations are there. So if you get the foundations right, then like, for example, nowadays we have only one person that is dedicated to maintaining Looker, and that person is not even full-time doing that. So it really cut down the maintenance on our side.
Very cool. That makes a lot of sense. Kind of along the same lines, related to the automated LookML generation, which sounds really cool, how much time did it take to set that up? I know Ernesto was helping you. And how much time do you save by having that generate automatically?
So setting it up, it was actually about a couple of sprints. So I think 2, maybe 3 weeks to have like the first, like to have the whole pipeline working, including testing and continuous integration. So basically like that was from coding it from scratch to just making sure all the test set was there. 3 weeks was done. And I think like this time saving, that's just incredible, because like it's not only the time saving in terms of I mean, honestly, like the time of even creating a view manually, it's not that time consuming, because you just go in and literally like with 3 clicks on the UI, Looker would generate that for you, and then you need to add the metrics. And I think from our side the core was the making it immediately available. So what really helped was making sure that everybody could see things in Looker right away, because otherwise, like, the issue would be that somebody would add something on BigQuery, and then you would need to let somebody in the data team know that was added, and then from our side, we would need to prioritize that, and it could fall back with like maybe other tasks or other things that were going on, and then maybe you wouldn't see that data into Looker for like a couple of days. But since that is all automated, well, basically, like, since it's released in production, like a couple of minutes later, it's available on Looker, and I think that was really what we wanted to aim for. So not only is it time saving for our team, but it's also like a much better experience for all our business users.
That's awesome. Yeah, I imagine with how often things iterate, that's really a huge value add that you're able to do that.
It's because the pipeline is able to understand if a table got updated, it's going to update the views for people. So if a new field is added, a new row appears on BigQuery, it's going to do that. So it's like it's just really making it dynamically. And on the other side, it also checks if people break things. So it's you don't end up with a broken Looker model. So it basically like stops people before, which is another nice thing to have.
Yeah. All right, let's see. We've got some more questions here. Okay, here's a good one. When it comes to visualizations, Looker provides built-in charts and also the possibility to add custom visualizations. Do you use custom visualizations?
So from our side, we use them, but not that often. Like at the moment we use custom visualization is more when we are using the Looker API, for example, and then we have our own graph, like we have our own front end. And that's used, for example, to show like things on Zendesk directly for our customer support, for example. One of the things we did was to use the API so that people could see in Zen, like could see basically, we are trying to bring the data to people rather than the people to data. So if somebody uses Zendesk as their primary tool, we are trying to make sure that the data they need is directly available there. So in that case, we would make our own visualization or like pipe it in with Zendesk. On the Looker side, on our side, to be honest, with the blocks and the visualizations that are available, we were always happy with that. It's also true that nobody is particularly demanding in terms of pretty visualization things. So on our side, we haven't really.
Fair enough. As long as you have what you need, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. Oh, here's someone's very curious. You mentioned 4 million monthly active users, but how many daily active users? And there's a little winky face after this one.
So it's actually about 800,000 daily actives.
Awesome. Let's see. Oh, here's another one about the AutoML generation that you're doing. Has the auto LookML generation resulted in any incorrect event joins that you found?
At the beginning, yes. So there was like, of course, like there was a team phase where there were bugs like any other thing you're coding. I think that's normal, and it's part of the process. So there are a couple of things that we had to iron out. So for example, on one side, making sure that the joins were correct. On the other side is also making sure that we were adding like filters when it was needed. So like, because while you can't always think that the end user is going to optimize the query for size and cost, so there are some things that you want them to force to use. So for example, like those things were also things that we had to like check a few times and really like use them and try them. So I think like at the beginning, like to get things right, we were basically like we have a Looker production environment, but we also have a staging environment. So we basically have a staging BigQuery interface and the Looker stage interface as well. So we were testing everything there and basically double checking all the joins and everything. So yes, there was like definitely a period, and I think the way we approached the problem and we tried to deal with it was to make sure that we could basically make it in a way that is scalable. So we are trying to treat the joins by categories. So like the join of a nested array is treated in one way in the code, and the join of another table is treated in another way. And we are like kind of trying to standardize things as much as we can. So that makes it easier now if you need to add another, like if you basically like another table gets added, as long as the type of data is similar, it's going to pick it up correctly automatically, which for our use case is working fine because there was only like a certain amount of joins that we need to handle. Of course, like if the use case gets more complex, then there's going to be new problems and there's going to be new solutions.
That makes sense. It looks like we have time for about one more question. So I see one here. Do you use a different tool for your product analytics, like Amplitude, or are you able and using Looker for product analytics inclusive of real-time product analytics?
We are able to use Looker for everything. So I think tools like Amplitude are great. They do provide value. On the other side, we were finding when we were using multiple tools, we were finding the issue that metrics are never consistent. So even if you send one event, it's never one event, depending on the platform it goes to. So there's always like time cutoffs might be different. So there's always like minor things that make things harder to check. So on our side, what we really did was take an effort to do like a mapping of which all the events that we wanted to track on the platform. So making sure like if there's a button that is tracked, if there's a click, like something that you can click on, it's tracked, page views and so on. So I think if you take the time to do that effort, so and really understanding your product and mapping and understanding what you want to get out of it, then like Looker, that is great. Also because the really nice thing about Looker and the problem with tools, not just Amplitude, but in general other tools, is that they tend to become silos, and it's instead like Looker is also connected with our database, so we can pull data from literally any of the different microservices we have, and that like gives a lot of enrichment. So for example, I don't know, we can have the whole IP history of a person and merge that with their behavior and see if their behavior changes or like other signals and so on. So which is something that we use for Smurf, for example, in multiple accounts to see if there's an IP change and then there's a sudden behavior change, for example, that's not within some parameters. So I think it's all like I think it just makes sense. And on the other side, whilst you might need a slightly bigger team, honestly, like since we moved on Looker, we have been saving quite a bit of money. So that's a plus from our finance people, and CFO is really happy. So that's, I think, another thing to consider as well.
Saving money is always a good thing. I see a couple more questions, but we are out of time, so we will make sure to follow up after. Maria Laura will loop you in. There's just a couple here that we'll have you answer. But yeah, we're just a little bit over, so we'll move on to the next session. But thank you so much for joining us, Maria Laura. That was fantastic.
Thank
always
you so
lovely
much.
to have you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.